You're welcome to today's episode of Chronicles of a Nigerian Woman. My name is Fagbeja, and today I'll be reading Sheila's story. Growing up, I was more of an introvert and did not go out of my way to make friends. I was somewhat shy, even though it wasn't very obvious, because right from my very young years, I would be chosen to perform at school activities like debates, singing, cultural dances, and even delivering speeches. But even though I had learned to master the stage, interacting one-on-one was very hard. However, my demeanor worked in my favor. Somehow, people always wanted to be my friend. I could be sitting by myself reading a book, and someone would walk up to me and strike a conversation. When they did, I would always respond with a smile, but I would never be the one to initiate a friendship. This meant I was always the passive friend, with other people doing more to sustain the friendship than I did. I grew up this way, not intentionally, but because it just happened that my friends always chose me and never the other way around. When I got to secondary school, this continued. I was in boarding school and found myself in a group of 5 friends who remained somewhat close throughout our time there. The thing was, however, that I was an outsider in our friend group. Within the group, each friend paired up with another friend to form a very close pair. So there were 2 pairs of close friends, and then there was me, the general friend. I think it was when we got to senior secondary school that I became conscious of the division. It hurt a little that I didn't really have my own friend, but I tried not to dwell on it. However, the divide became more obvious as we left school, when one pair of my friends ended up being in the same university, obviously planned, while the other pair left the country together, also obviously planned because they were both going to stay with the auntie of one of them. So I was left alone, and that was when I realized that I was truly an outsider. I felt somewhat betrayed by my friends, and for the first time in my life, I was completely alone. The experience made me even more detached because I became very wary of making close friends. I did not like the feeling of being the outsider, so I did not even allow people to get close enough. Throughout my university days, I was friendly with my classmates, my roommates, fellowship members, etc., but I stayed away from making close friends of my own. I still maintained contact with my secondary school friends, but of course, the distance meant we drifted apart after a while. When I was getting married, about 5 years after graduating from the university, it was my church members who were there for me. I have only one sibling, a brother, and we were not really close to any of our cousins. So, even getting someone to be my chief bridesmaid was difficult. I was a member of the ushering unit in church, and I just chose one of the other members to be my chief bridesmaid, even though we were not really close. I could not have a bridal train because there was no one to put on it. This meant my husband also could not put his friends on the train. The experience made me truly realize that friendships were an important part of life. But I didn't realize why I never seemed to have my own close friend until I met Tolani, my neighbor, after I got married. We shared the semi-detached bungalow at the back, while the landlord lived in the main building in front in the compound where we rented a house. Tolani was about the same age as I was, just a few months apart, but she was not married. She worked as an engineer in a computer hardware company, while I worked for an HR consulting firm. She was friendly and vivacious. About 2 days after we moved in, she came to introduce herself to us. It was a Saturday morning and she brought a home-baked cake. In my usual manner, I accepted her offer of friendship, but made no effort on my part. She would call me from the window to greet me if she saw me outside in the mornings, but I would never greet her except we were in close proximity with each other. She loved to cook, so sometimes she would bake cookies at the weekend or make finger foods and bring them over to my house with juice and sit down to watch a movie with me. My husband liked to spend afternoons and evenings on the weekends watching sports with his friends, so I was often alone. He tried to make me go with him to meet their wives or their girlfriends, but I always declined. My so-called friendship with Tolani was very one-sided until she called me out on it one day. She wasn't nasty about it, but she stated the fact that I was very insular and had never returned her visits once, even after 6 months of her trying to be friendly. In fact, she was so sweet about the way she said it that even though I was irritated, I could not say anything other than to make some small excuses. When she left that evening, I started to rant to my husband about how I didn't ask her to be friends with me and she didn't need to try if she knew she could not take me for who I was, etc. It was him who pointed out to me that that was my problem. I was too conscious of myself and wary of people to let them get close. He asked me if I liked Tolani, and thinking about it, I found that I actually did. I enjoyed her company. She was a nice person and she never pried or badmouthed anyone so far, even though our landlord's niece had been somewhat of a nuisance, especially to Tolani. She had been rude to her on a couple of occasions, which I overheard from the kitchen. Tolani never made it a topic for discussion between us and still behaved graciously towards her. She was a really nice person. So my husband asked why I didn't reciprocate her friendship. I thought about it deeply, and that was when I realized that the reason why I had no close friends was because I put no effort into my friendships at all. I was there for the banter and going around together, everything on the surface, but I never really put my heart into it. I didn't probe or ask the deeper questions, except I was there when the matters were being discussed. Before this time, I had always felt that my secondary school friends betrayed me. But now, I realized that they always put in more of the effort than I did because I was passive. If they didn't call, I didn't reach out. But they all called so often that I didn't realize that it was one-sided. I saw that I had been a very self-absorbed person all my life, and for the first time, I realized that I did not deserve to have friends. With my perspective changed, I consciously started to behave better towards Tolani, and we became close friends fast. She was there for me when I had my daughter, and even became her de facto godmother. We have been friends for 9 years now, even after she got married and we also moved out of that house. Our husbands have even become good friends. More importantly, I now treat people better. I don't wait for them to extend the hand of friendship before I do. I may not reach out as Tolani did to me, but in the estate where we now live, I am known as the one who greets all the neighbors and welcomes new ones in close proximity to me. I spent almost 30 years of my life not realizing that I was selfish and detached. Someone may say I should not be so hard on myself, but I have come to recognize that it was selfish behavior to always wait for people to reach out to me and then turn around to feel that I didn't need to reciprocate since they made the initial effort anyway. What are your thoughts about Sheila's behavior to her friends? You can also share your experiences about friendships and relationships in the comment section below. Remember to hit that subscribe button and to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos.